right, good morning and welcome to the Agenda, the program where we tackle the big ideas shaping Nigeria's future. I am Chike Ubogo. Today, we'll discuss what sparks debates across the world and even right here at home. And that is democratic socialism. Specifically, how can Nigeria pursue socialist economic goals? Goals like reducing massive inequality, guaranteeing basic services for all, and putting ordinary people in control of key resources without revolution, but through the ballot box, through legislation, and through democratic reforms. In a country where over 133 million people face multidimensional poverty, in a country where corruption drains public funds, in a country where oil wealth rarely trickles down, is democratic socialism a realistic path? Well, joining me today is Ignatius Ofino, an economist and sharp public affairs commentator. It's good to have you on the agenda this morning, Comrade Ofino.
Good morning, Chris Obogo.
Okay. Most times I get to mispronounce that word. It's actually Ofino. Ofino.
Ofino.
Yes.
Yeah, you got
Ignatius
it right.
Ofino.
Yes, you
Not
got it
Ofino.
right. No.
Ofino.
Ofino.
Yeah.
Yes, you got it right.
Interesting. Good to have you again.
I'm delighted to be here this morning as usual.
Yes, and we're going to have an interesting discourse this morning.
Definitely.
So let's start with clarity. What exactly is this democratic socialism? And then many people confuse it with communism or even revolutionary socialism. What is democratic socialism in its true sense?
Democratic socialism is a political and an economic ideology aiming at advocating for a democratic, decentralized, and socialized economy by replacing capitalism with the joint ownership of the means of production. That is what capitalism here now. It simply means that the resources should not be allowed to be in the hands of the few. Anti-capitalism is one of the features of democratic socialism. Then the last one is what we call comprehensive welfare. That means that there should be what we call equal right for all. Equal right for all. There should be what we call welfare for all citizens. Then the last one is what we call equality and justice. So it's one of the key features in democratic socialism. There is one thing Viva Madiba, Rolilala, Nelson Mandela asserted. He said a nation should not be judged by its highest citizens, but by its lowest ones. I repeat again, Nelson Mandela, Viva Madiba, Rolilala, Afia tend to be fascist because of what? The arrogance of power. Power is very powerful. Permit me to use that word. Power is very powerful. So, some of them can be power drunk. That is why democratic socialism is different from socialism. Because, let me give you an instance. Look at Russia now. From a socialist state, it became a communist state. The same thing also applies to the People's Republic of China. From a socialist state, it became a communist state. You see, their leaders are very what? Powerful. You can see how powerful they are. They are fascist. The two leaders. So socialism is different from democratic socialism. Because the advanced stage of socialism is what we call communism. But after communism, you are going to have what we call a classless society, egalitarian society. Is that achievable?
But if you look at it, China had a communist economy.
Yes.
And even up to today, still communist, the Republic of China.
Yes.
But are you saying that there can never be an egalitarian society after communism?
That is an ideal situation. It's different from the real.
And when we say egalitarian society,
Yes.
what we mean by egalitarian is saying that there is a classless society.
Yes,
there's no
a
social
classless society.
Everybody is equal.
Yes, the
And
capitalists will
yeah.
not allow that to happen because most of them are oppressors. They will not allow that to happen on a moral ground. There is one thing Malcolm X said. He had made an assertion, and I love that assertion. He said, if government fears the people, it is liberty. He said, but if the people fears the government, it is tyranny. I repeat again, Malcolm X asserted that if government fears the people, it is liberty. But if the people fears the government, it is tyranny. So the tendency is there when a leader enjoys absolute power or authority, he becomes dictatorial.
So are you saying it's about gradual consensual change?
Yes, it's a gradual consensus change.
That's bringing up reforms that build up public support
Yes.
over time.
Yes, over time. But in Nigeria, the case is just rather sad and unfortunate.
We're still coming down to the Nigerian state. We're still coming down to Nigeria, where we look at what is obtainable today, especially when it comes to democratic socialism.
Yes.
If it is obtainable in Nigeria as it were. So let's bring it back home and in Nigeria. What does it look like in Nigeria?
For now, we don't have what we call democratic socialism in Nigeria. We are running a capitalist economy because most of the members of the political bloc, they are all capitalists. And greed is the basis of capitalism. What they are more interested in is how do we make profits. You can see the tax reform. When they remove the oil subsidy unilaterally, has it transformed the life of the ordinary Nigerian? Based on the assertion that Nelson Mandela made. The majority of the people, the masses, are being oppressed as a result of what? The capitalist ideology. As a result of what? The capitalist economic policy that affects the ordinary Nigerians. Has our life been transformed? Government is making more money from revenue generation, from taxation, from oil proceeds. But has this transformed the life of the ordinary Nigerian? So that is what we are saying. Democratic socialism has not actually happened in Nigeria. It is a gradual consensus. But you and I have a role to play. Do you know what Malcolm X said? Malcolm X made an assertion again. He said, the press is the most powerful entity on earth. They can make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. This is power. But how justifiable is this assertion on moral ground? So the press has a role to play when we are talking about democratic socialism. The Nigerian Labour Congress also has a role to play. You know, when the Nigerian Labour Congress decided to float a political party, they were supposed to introduce a democratic socialism as their own form of ideal. When you are talking about democratic socialism, it seeks to combine socialist economic principle with political democratic system in order to reduce inequality and also enhance greater workers' control. That was what they would have done. Therefore, the Nigerian Labour Party, the Labour Party itself, we want to adopt what we call democratic socialism. That is what they would have done. But when you look at it now, the Labour Party itself is a capitalist party too.
Are you saying...
They are also capitalists.
Are you saying this particular ideology, that's democratic socialism, is something feasible in Nigeria?
It's feasible in Nigeria, but who are those that are going to float it?
No, are you saying, like you just gave an example
of the Nigerian Labour
Labour Congress that floated the Labour Party. Now, was it hijacked at some point?
If it was even hijacked, whose fault? Your fault or my fault? Or their own fault? You must have principle. We are different from PDP. We are different from APC. We are different from ADC. This is Nigerian Labour Party. What we are going to do is democratic socialism. If they start that idea, over time it will sell out.
So
it will become sellable.
So right now, what socialist economic goals make sense in Nigeria today?
For now, I will have loved democratic socialism. Do you know why I'm saying I'm calling for it? I love what we call socialism. If you look at Chief Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi Awolowo, GCFR, because he was honored with the GCFR, the president Nigeria never had. He was a socialist. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself is a capitalist. So the capitalists and the socialists, they are opposing ends. There is one thing Chief Jeremiah Oyeniyi Obafemi Awolowo said. He said, if we don't give everyone equal opportunity in terms of access to education, those who have been denied and deprived of education, they stand to become a potential threat to those who are lucky to be educated. He was our own version of what? Nostradamus. He saw the future.
The man who saw tomorrow.
Who saw tomorrow, Nostradamus. He saw it. That was why he decided to introduce free education in Western region. That is why when you are talking about education today, the Western region does not joke with it. They see it as an asset. They are willing to sell their property in order to send their children to school. So somebody came up with that idea, a philosopher, a sage, who saw tomorrow. So when we are talking about democratic socialism, I think the Labour Party was in the best position to adopt this system.
I know at some point we used to have a political party in Nigeria called the Socialist
Democratic Party.
No, the Socialist Party of Nigeria, SPN. There was the SPN, and then before the SPN, there was the SDP, Social Democratic Party. Are you saying these are just nomenclatures without an ideology?
They are just nomenclature because Chief MKO Abiola was a capitalist to the core.
Running under a socialist party.
Ideology. Can he be trusted? No, I'm just trying to explain to you when we are talking about capitalism and socialism. Fela's mother,
Olufunmilayo,
yes, was a socialist to the core. She was a socialist. She believed in socialism. She said that is the only way that to salvage the situation in Nigeria and also in Africa.
Why is socialism not working in Africa?
Because for now, those who love socialism, most of them are not interested in joining politics. You must have a movement, a socialist movement of Nigeria. We have to congregate together. Those of us who believe in socialism, those of us who believe in what we call democratic socialism. But mind you, the West will not fold their hands. The capitalist West. They will not fold their hands. They will not.
They influence
the
distortion.
Yes.
They influence the distortion in Africa.
In Africa too.
Okay.
So when we are talking about this issue of IMF, who owns the IMF? It's a capitalist institution. So that is where the problem lies. Africa must be free. Nigeria must be free. And the only way is for us to do it is to adopt what we call democratic socialism.
So why is the West afraid of socialism?
Because they know that nothing as good as freedom. You know your right, I know my right. My right can never be usurped by anyone. They know. The other day we were talking about anarchical ideology, anarchism.
Yes.
It's a political ideology and also a philosophy. America got her independence through what? Anarchical ideology. They got their independence. Do you know what this man said? A philosopher. An Asian philosopher. Nikolai Golan. He said in chaos there is opportunity. That was what he said. He said in chaos there is opportunity. So it's an open-ended philosophical maxim. So when we say there is in chaos there is opportunity, probably he was referring to revolutionary consciousness for you to liberate yourself from the siege of your oppressor. Because the oppressors are not willing to give you your own freedom. But you, the oppressed, you must be willing to get your freedom at all costs. That is why the American independence, the revolutionary consciousness, and the revolution was morally justified.
If you go by that maxim, in chaos there is opportunity. Yes. Do you also go by this maxim that says in every happiness there is a brutal danger?
In every happiness there is a brutal danger. Fine. They say there can be no peace without bloodshed. It's a maxim too. It's a philosophical maxim that there cannot be peace without what? Bloodshed!
So the big question now is, how do we get there without revolution?
That's a big question.
Because Nigeria has a democratic system, but it is flawed with money politics, godfatherism, and even weak institutions. So how do we get there without revolution, bloodshed?
I remember in 1963 there used to be Wild West. You know, politics have plethora meaning, plethora definitions, both positive and negative.
And they are relative.
Yeah, they are very relative. You know, Mao Zedong defined politics as war without bloodshed. But in Nigeria today, we not having bloodshed during our general elections.
Even during primaries.
During primaries. So Mao Zedong said politics is war
without bloodshed.
But in Nigeria today, is that assertion valid? Because we used to have what we call skirmishes during our general elections, before, during, and after. So it's there. It's a game of power. The scrabble for power. The scrabble for the control of resources. Who gets what and how. So that is what politics is all about. So for now, Nigerians are really afraid of revolution. We are not calling for revolution, but there is what we call intellectual revolution or a protest vote. Does it make sense? Your oppressors keep oppressing you and you keep voting him into power. Does it make sense? Now, what they have made us to believe in this country is this: divine providence. Divine providence. There is nothing wrong about divine providence. But there is one thing you have to say. The role of government in providing everything that the citizens of the country need. But the government have deceived the people by allowing the people to believe in what? Divine providence. So, they have also brainwashed their adherents to believe in divine providence.
Okay.
God will not do for man what man can do for himself. So Nigerians now believe in divine providence rather than agitating for good welfare from the government. There is one thing this man said, J.F. Kennedy. He said, ask not America, but only ask, what can I do for America? He said, because America has provided everything.
Don't ask what America would do for you.
But
ask
only
what
ask
you can do for
America. He said, because America has provided everything you need.
Is that not patriotism at its peak?
Yes.
Patriotism at its peak.
Yes, and welfareism. He did not say God has provided everything you need. That was not what J.F. Kennedy said. He said, America, as a country, has provided everything you need. What America is only asking from you, what can you do for America? But in our own country now, what we now depend is divine providence.
And then we go to prayer mountain.
All
we pray
the time,
so hard.
divine providence.
Are you not worried?
The cloak of religion.
Are you not worried
the
that...
yoke of religion.
Yes. Are you not worried that most of our prayer points here in Nigeria is supposed to be government work? You know, the responsibility of government. Many times when you travel out, especially when you go to the UK or you go to countries like Canada or in Europe, you find out that most of the things you pray for, you hear people say, God, let them bring light. Let the IBEDC restore electricity. But at the end of the day, if you work, you pay for your bills, you have electricity. So our prayer points, most times in the country, happen to be government responsibility. So how do we demystify this?
Now, religious leaders have a role to play.
Okay.
Because they are also at fault too. I have to be honest with you. God will not do for man what man can do for himself. God is not a politician, and is not the author of confusion. God rules over the affairs of men. But nature has given you and I the willpower to choose between the good and the evil. But sometimes you say among two goods, two evils, you go for the lesser evil. Evil is evil. We have to be frank and sincere to ourselves in this country. Religion is very germane. The responsibility of government to guarantee what? Human welfare and security. Look at America today. America adopted what we call a capitalist economy. They now couple it with what? Welfare policy. America will provide housing for you. They will provide a stable power supply, capital infrastructure for you. They will provide a quality education for you. They will provide what we call quality healthcare delivery system for you. They will provide what we call a good transportation network for you. They will not say pray. No! It's the duty of government. But you as a citizen has a role to play. What is your role? You must be patriotic, one. Two, you must also pay your tax. So, religious leaders have brainwashed a lot of people in Nigeria today. Nigeria now believe in what we call divine providence. That has been the problem. So rather than the people agitating for better governance, they now rely more on divine providence. And that is a fallacy of the first order when you are talking about public governance. You are talking about stable power supply. We need it in this country. Is it not possible? It is possible. It is you and I that will make it happen, not divine providence. When you are talking about portable power supply, divine providence will not make it happen. It is you and I that will make it happen. When you are talking about quality healthcare delivery system, divine providence will not make it happen. It is government policy that will make it happen. When you are talking about quality educational system, it is not divine providence that will make it happen. What will make it happen is what? Good government policy. So government has a role to play. So for now, Nigerians must decide who and who should govern them. Because God is not a politician and God is not the author of confusion. He rules over the affairs of men. But nature has given you and I the willpower to choose. During general election, which of them do you want to choose? Do you want to choose those who believe in capitalist ideal? Or do you want to choose those who believe in socialist ideal? Or do you want to choose those who believe in what we call capitalism plus welfareism? Or do you want to go for what we call democratic socialism? The ball is in your court. But there is one thing this man said, William Shakespeare. I like that quote. He said there are two forces that govern the world. The forces of good and the forces of evil. Each trying to oppose the other. The same thing applies to capitalism and socialism.
One is good, one is evil.
Yes, no. There are two forces opposing the other. There are two forces. It's the electorate. You don't blame the politician. You blame the electorate the more. Someone who deprives you of quality education, who deprives you of quality healthcare delivery system, who deprives you of good roads, who deprives you of what we call security, who deprive you of what we call social security, who deprive you of social benefits, who deprive you of job opportunity, you still go ahead and vote for such a person. Morally, are you rational?
So looking at, citing an example, yesterday, if you followed what happened yesterday in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, where teachers, striking FCTA workers and the NLC picketed, and then you saw teachers, NUT, and the likes trying to fight the minister of the FCT yesterday. Now, do you see them as exhibiting or showcasing their democratic socialist rights? And then you saw the minister, you saw clips of the minister of the FCT leaving the office complex there just to avert any chaos. Now, is that an example of social democratic a protest?
Yes,
okay.
They are agitating for their right.
Okay. Sorry.
I beg your pardon.
Yes.
NUT is a pressure group.
Okay.
What I've discovered about the Nigerian Labour Congress is this. They are fighting more for the interests of their members, not for the interests of the majority of the people.
Okay, so we'll go on a break now, and when we come back, we'll have more discussions on this. Stick around. Don't go away. All right, welcome back from that short break. It's still the agenda, and I've been discussing with Ignatius Ofino, and we're talking about democratic socialism. Well, before we went on that break, we're citing an example of what happened in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, yesterday. Yes, you were trying to shed some light on that.
Yes, the Nigerian Labour Congress, actually, they were demanding for a new minimum wage. But they have forgotten that too much money in circulation triggers inflation. It's not about increase in salary, no. You talk about the purchasing power. Our currency no longer have value anymore. How many units of goods can 1 unit of your own currency purchase in the goods market? That is how economists think. So when you're talking about increase in salary, they have increased the salary fine. It has triggered what? Inflation. So we have to be honest to ourselves. But when we are talking about democratic socialism, you talk more about how do we reduce inequality, social inequality. How do we bridge the gap between the rich and the poor? There is an economic theory too. You have to tax the rich heavily in order to redistribute income to the poor. Probably that is what Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is trying to adopt.
Okay, with the new tax law.
What with the new tax law? But the capitalists rich, they are going to fight him.
You think so?
Do you think they want the masses to be liberated?
But don't you think it's a welcome development, or you think they are in cahoots?
No, it's a welcome development. But what about the issue of tax evasion? What about the president past? He's a capitalist. You know that was one thing the president did up till now. I'm up till now, it saddens my heart. When the president unilaterally cancelled the NNPC debt amounting to over 4 trillion naira. How come? There should be forensic audit of NNPCL. NNPC does not belong to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It belongs to the totality of the good people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. 4 trillion naira. Cancelled just like that. That money was supposed to be meant to build capital infrastructure in Nigeria. It was supposed to be meant to fund the healthcare delivery system. It was supposed to be meant to fund education, security. You now said bad loan. Though we know in economic theory, bad loan can be cancelled. Yeah. But now this is not the issue of cancelling a bad loan. This is national asset. Over 4 trillion naira.
It's meant for, it's a commonwealth of the people.
Of the people. So Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a case to answer before the people. It will never happen if he was a socialist. It will definitely happen for those who are capitalists.
So you are looking at elite capture.
Yes, elite capture. So I'm still, sometimes, I don't think if anything, I don't think if someone is saying that probably the president is also an accomplice. Probably that was why he cancelled it. Because he's a capitalist.
So you're saying capitalists are often indicted?
Often indicted. So it's there. So what we need in this country is what we call democratic socialism. So when you are talking about democracy, it's the government of the people. You are talking about what? A representative government. But before you can have a representative government, Nigeria needs a new constitution. We have to define, we have to for ourselves, we have to establish for ourselves a system in which if anybody steals 1 naira, you go in for it. You never get away with it. And in the law profession, that clause that's called for plea bargaining should be expunged.
Before we delve into the solutions to these, critics say democratic socialism won't work in Nigeria.
Who says
as
so?
it were, because of corruption, because of ethnic divisions, and because of low state capacity. Do you agree with that?
I disagree with them.
Okay. Let's get your thoughts.
It's a thing of the mindset. There is what we call the Epicurean school of thought. It's a human being have the instinct to steal. But why people don't steal is because of the consequence. Even when you look at the traditional setting, nobody wants to marry from a family where they steal. Nobody. I'm talking about the African setting. in our traditional institution. So I disagree with them. Change is the only thing that is what? Constant. We need a change in this government in Nigeria. A change. Our country should be seen as a model. Look at what my friend said, President Donald Trump. He said, go back to your country. Go and develop your country. You have a lot of resources. Let me give an instance. You know, in the United States for now, we have a lot of undocumented immigrants. And Donald Trump, a Republican, now discovered that during the days of the Democrats, they allow a lot of illegal migrants into America. And some of them, at the end of the day, became American citizens. Definitely, they will vote for that party. How do I reduce the influence and the political strength of the Democrats? That was why my friend, President Donald Trump, decided to say this time around, no, I'm going to pen the issue of immigration. Politically, that is how a politician thinks. Then he now came up with an idea. You know what he said? He said, this undocumented immigrant poses a threat to the peace and stability of the United States. You are talking about state policy. You are talking more about security and human welfare. You can see what he just said, what he told the Canadian Prime Minister. That is how to say, make America great again. So it's all about your own interest, national interest, not personal interest. But in Nigeria today, what the capitalists are doing is what? Personal interest over public interest.
So what you're saying is it's more about long-term vision, long-term vision for us to achieve this as a people.
Whether you call it long-term vision or short-term vision, it's still achievable.
Yeah.
If the people decide, there's what we call intellectual revolution. Protest vote.
But how do hungry people read?
They don't want to be. Nobody was born with chains. Every human being was born free.
Okay.
So I believe in personal liberty. But those of us who are agitating for democratic socialism, we need the media to also assist us so that we can be able to change the orientation of our people. We also need the religious leaders to change the orientation of the people so that they will no longer put their effort in divine providence.
But divine providence brings money. You know. So
how?
Like I was saying, no, let's leave that aside. It's about long-term vision, short-term wins. That's what it means if we embark on this. But how do we fund this to achieve a democratic socialist state?
There was one time during the slave trade in America, there was a lot of revolution. Hey, we have freedom all over the world now. It's there. People were agitating for the abolition of slave trade. We have to start, and that is what we have just done this morning. You came up with that idea, democratic socialism. It's a good idea. Whether it's going to be a long-term gain or a short-term win, democratic socialism. But there is one thing that I discovered that is happening in this country. Restructuring. To some persons, restructuring to them means what? Resource control. For some, it means what? True federalism. For some, it is what? Devolution of power. For some of us, we said it should be what? Democratic what? Socialism. For some, they said it should be what we call capitalism plus welfareism. So the restructuring is going on. The agitation is there. Some people are saying that we need what we call a new constitution. Some people are saying that we should have what we call a single term of 6 years. Some people are agitating that we should what we call go back to regional government. The agitations are there. And one of the agitations is what we are discussing this morning. Democratic what? Socialism. We are not calling for violent revolution. No. What we are just saying is this. The people must change their orientation. They should embrace democratic socialism. Because that is the only political and economic ideology that can reduce what we call social inequality. That can bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. Now, over 133 million Nigerians that are poor. Multidimensional poverty. And you made me to remember one thing now. The paradox. Resource cost paradox. The paradox of poverty. Poverty in the midst of plenty. Is that not an aberration? Nigeria is so blessed with natural resources. We have what we call oil and gas. We have what we call solid minerals. We have what we call population. Yet, we are still suffering. There was a time Nigeria was being classified as the poverty capital of the world. Is that not a shame?
So I want to trigger one part of you this morning.
Wow.
And that is this. I don't even understand the structure of the Nigerian state. That they've been making errors, or is it deliberate that they are delving into capitalism just for their own selfish gains?
It's deliberate. Every one of us have what we call the hunger instinct. The only way is deliberate. So they are running Nigeria as a personal enterprise. Emilio come and chop your own. That is what they are saying. Come and chop your own. Have you ever seen any Nigerian leader that is corrupt, prosecuted according to the law, and sent to jail? It has never happened. The president commits a crime while in office, or the president stole our phone while in office. After leaving office, he will now be what? Charged to court and prosecuted according to the law. I'm telling you. Believe you me, they will do the right thing. Look at what my friend is doing in America. He may have violated some certain laws in America. But when Trump today leaves that office, he's bound to face the American law. He's bound. He's bound to face it. Nobody is above the law in the United States. But in Nigeria today, you see a lot of our leaders stealing public funds, turning themselves into an island unto themselves at the expense of the people, because they know that if they steal public funds, at the end of the day, the plea bargaining is there. I stole 1 billion naira. I now decide to return 500 million naira. Then the remaining 500 million naira, I give the presiding judge 200 million. Then the remaining 300 million, I go away with it. And you are saying that you want to fight corruption. This is not a serious country. The only way to fight corruption is to build a strong institution, EFCC, that is strong and incorruptible. The same thing applies to ICPC. There must be what called declaration of what? Asset. The president must be sincere enough. Is the president a socialist? No, he's a capitalist. Capitalists are never sincere. That's the truth. Look at this man, Thomas Sankara, of Burkina Faso. He was a socialist. He believed in socialism. Patrice Lumumba. They were all assassinated. They were all socialists. Awolowo, a socialist. They never allowed him to rule Nigeria. They knew.
Nkrumah.
The same thing. They knew.
Julius Nyerere.
Yes, they knew. They will frustrate them. And the people themselves, among the oppressed masses, we have moles.
Because of our time, is there any hope for the youth, for the young ones in
The
Nigeria?
Gen Z youth.
In Nigeria?
The Gen Z youth.
Yes, especially when it comes to democratic socialism.
The Gen Z youth.
Is there any hope for the young Nigerians?
Look at the way they are spending their energy on illegality. There is one thing I will give you an instance today. You have to change your mind and for you, or create an enabling environment for you to either become self-employed. But government have denied you this. What the youth are more interested in is what? The social media. The social media. The social media. How many of them are creative? Is there anything wrong for us to have a Silicon Valley in Nigeria? I want to appeal to David Adeleke, Davido. The Nigerian youth love him. There is nothing wrong if Davido today decide to establish and build a Silicon Valley in Nigeria in order to encourage the wrong ones in science and technology. Capital goods. His name will always go in history forever. That it was Davido that built a Silicon Valley for Nigeria, for the Nigerian youth. I'm talking about our social celebrities. They can come together. Let's have a Silicon Valley in Nigeria. Let's have, so that we can be able to encourage what we call science and technology, so that we can be able to become manufacturers of goods in this country. Nigerian youth are very talented, But now there is what we call they are not being distracted by what happens in the social media. Look at what happened presently about Fela Anikulapo Kuti, then Shehu Kuti versus Wizkid.
Well, let's not delve into that. And lastly, because of our time, let's just round it off now. You made mention of the Nigerian youth and social media. Are you not worried that tech has taken over the majority of the Nigerian space, especially when it comes to the youth? Tech, AI, social media content taking over, and then we're not producing as a nation.
What I'm more interested in, you should produce goods. So, there is a difference between goods and services. Goods are tangible. Services are what? Intangible. Like in the media industry, it's a service. But I'm looking forward to a day Nigeria will now become one of the greatest countries in the world. Look at India. India is an emerging nuclear power. India and Nigeria were at the same level of development in 1960. The same thing applies to Pakistan. Do you know that Pakistan today is also an emerging nuclear power? That is what I'm calling. We should celebrate people that have interest in science and technology. In our schools today, those who are running science and technology, their tuition fee should be subsidized by government.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. Democratic socialism, it's not about copying foreign models. It is about adapting the idea that the economy should serve people, not just profits, and doing so through the democratic tools we have. Ignatius Ofino, thank you for illuminating this discussion this morning.
Thank you very much, Chike Uwogu.
And please say me well to your friend, President Donald J. Trump.
Wow, that's my friend. I'm proud of him.
That's all for today's agenda. Join us next time. Stay engaged, stay informed. I am Chike Uwogu signing off.